गीता सुगीता कर्तव्या किमन्यै शास्त्रविस्तरैः या स्वयं पद्मनाभस्य मुखपद्माद्विनिसृताः. Gita, which is a Sugita, a beautiful, melodious, divine song of who? Of God Himself. Once you have heard that, once you have studied that, once you have listened to that, Kimanyahi Shastra Vistrayi, what is the need for reading any other scripture? Because this has come directly from the mouth, from the lips of the Padmanabha, the Lord Himself. Therefore, Gita is one of the most unique scriptures. Upanishads have been written by rishis, various other granthas are written by other Puranas are there. They are all written by various other rishis or like Vyasa and others. But this is one text, Bhagavad Gita, which is directly authored in a way by God Himself. That is the uniqueness of Bhagavad Gita. So it is said, if you read Bhagavad Gita, where is the need to read any other scriptures? The idea is that if you want to know about what is life, how to live this life, what is the purpose of life, how to achieve that purpose, Gita is the most important scripture that you must read. Only then you understand the real meaning of being human. All other things will teach you how to earn your livelihood. But Gita not just teaches you how to earn your livelihood, it also teaches how to live your life in the right way. So science will teach you how to feed yourself, feed your stomach, which is important. But Gita teaches you in what way you should do it, why should you do it. And therefore Bhagavad Gita is the most practical text in the world. And this is one thing that we can, as Indians, we can pride ourselves with, that we have a scripture like Bhagavad Gita, which has no comparison in the whole world. Even within our own scriptures, Bhagavad Gita has no comparison. So that is the beauty of Bhagavad Gita, about which Sri Adi Shankaracharya says. He says that if you read a little bit of Bhagavad Gita, or drink a little bit of Ganga water, or think of that Krishna, even a little bit in your lifetime, you don't have to negotiate with Yama for your lifespan. When Yama arrives to take you, you don't have to argue, negotiate, crack a deal, allow me a few more years, I'm not ready yet. Yama is not going to listen to all that. But if you don't want to deal with this terrible time with Yama at the fag end, then you better read Bhagavad Gita, is what Sri Adi Shankaracharya says. Now some of you may think, oh, that means if we read Bhagavad Gita, we will never die? Yama will never come and trouble us? Not at all. It only means that when Yama comes, you won't be afraid. You won't argue, negotiate with Yama. You will be ready. You are ready to receive death with as much fortitude, as much equanimity as you live your life. That is why Bhagavad Gita takes away the mrityu bhaya. The fear of death is removed from the mind. Of all the fears that haunt humankind, or any animal, anybody, which is the biggest fear? Death is the final fear, because once death comes, which wife, which children, which property, which bank account, which name, fame, position, nothing matters. All the other fears are only related to these attachments. But once death comes, all this is over. So the biggest fear that man faces is that of death. And Bhagavad Gita helps us to conquer death. Conquer the fear of death. Death will happen to everybody. Even Krishna died. The way he himself taught Bhagavad Gita, forget about reading, he taught Bhagavad Gita, but he also died. So we cannot escape death, but we will know how to deal with death. That's the big boon Bhagavad Gita teaches, because it teaches you about the Atman, which never dies. Na jayate mriyate. It is never born, it never dies. It tells us about body being a garment which has to be thrown away once it is worn out. Vasansi jirnani yatha vihaya. Navani grihnati naroparani. Like a worn out garment is thrown away and a new garment is accepted, or you adorn yourself with. Same way the old bodies are thrown away and the soul takes up a new body. Especially in COVID times like this, with another variant around, Andar Yamaduta. How relevant is Bhagavad Gita? Just in case something happens, not to you, God forbid, anybody, how do you deal with that tragedy? How do you deal with that loss? Unless you have this faith that nobody dies and nobody is born. We are all eternal as Atman. Bodies come and go. Unless we know this truth and believe in it, how do we overcome fear of death and loss of dear ones, which is what presently world is facing? Everything else is okay. But this itself is a great boon of Bhagavad Gita. That's why even if you read about Bhagavad Gita, you don't have to deal with yama, it says. It means you don't have to have a terrible death. You can have a peaceful departure. You don't have to have a terrible, fearful death. That's a great boon Bhagavad Gita gives, because death is something rich, poor, young, old, learned, illiterate, mightiest and the weakest. Everybody has to face at some point in time. Nobody can do anything about it. Our doctors they can put you on an elongated death departure time, put you on ICU, ventilators and delay your death. But they cannot stop it from happening. That's it. So that is one reality we all have to deal with in our lives. And that is what Bhagavad Gita teaches us, how to deal with it. What should be our attitude towards it? How do we conquer that fear? So that we can live our lives to the fullest. Otherwise, we die every day with the fear of death. We don't live our lives. Bhagavad Gita teaches us that. So practical, so relevant, especially in today's times. Bhagavad Gita itself says, Svalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Even if you come to know a little bit of this great truth, that dharma, greatest of the fears are alleviated. We will live in this world, but without being afraid of anything or anyone or any situation, including death. That is the power of Bhagavad Gita. No other scripture in the world tells you that you are eternal, you never die, you don't have an end at all. No other scripture in the world tells you except our scriptures in India. In that, Bhagavad Gita tells us so clearly, so simply it tells you. Look at the teaching. That is the beauty of Bhagavad Gita. And look at the teacher. God himself is the teacher. God himself is the author. Now, who knows this world better than the one who created it? Who knows the human mind better than the one who created it? Who knows this human body and human habits better than the one who created it? So only he is the right authority to speak about it. Everybody else can speak with borrowed knowledge, but the creator of this whole thing alone knows the truth. That's why Sri Krishna puts it so clearly, so simply, so vividly for all to study. For about design thinking. It's a concept by IIT Mumbai about how to teach and learn. They talk about a concept called design learning, design thinking. It means you create a situation, then you think of the problem, then study the solution in a participative way. The whole class should come together to learn a concept. That is the way they're telling. And this is design thinking of Krishna. He created the design of that whole battlefield to teach Arjuna a great lesson. So contextual, so practical. In fact, Arjuna had come to fight the war. And Narasimha ji said just now he wanted to run away from the battlefield. But if he wanted to run away, why did he come in the morning to fight the war with all eagerness, all ready? Because at that point of time, he was angry. He wanted to take revenge. But the moment Arjuna was brought to the battlefield and Krishna, he told Arjuna, Senayo ubhyor madhye rathe thapaya me. Put my chariot between the two armies. Let me see who all are the opponents, who are standing, who I have to fight. So Krishna takes the chariot. And Krishna is such a clever teacher. Had he placed the chariot in front of Duryodhana, Arjuna would have started the war without even blowing the conch. He was eager to kill him. But what did he do? He went and placed it in front of where Bhishmacharya was there, his grandfather. And Arjuna thought, oh, I have to kill my grandfather. He raised me. He cared for me. He fed me. He clothed me. And should I kill him now? How ungrateful. So he knew what to do. Krishna knew. Design thinking. He took the chariot, put it in front of Bhishmacharya. And that's it. Arjuna lost his all anger and everything. And he started giving excuses. What excuse? He was telling, if I kill all our kith and kin, what sin I have committed? Better I die and beg for food, alms than win this battle. All kinds of nonsensical excuses he gives. And Krishna sees all that. He allows one full chapter of Bhagavad Gita is ranting by Arjuna. Full Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Arjuna goes on and on. Not a word Krishna speaks. Like a patient teacher, he listens to all the excuses. In the second chapter, he starts then. Then Arjuna says, I don't know. This is some kind of a karpanya dosha, some kind of a feebleness, weakness of mind has overtaken me. I don't know what to do. I'm becoming your shishya. I surrender to you, he says. I'm becoming your Shishya. The moment he says, I become your Shishya, now the student is ready to listen. But otherwise, he's not accepting his studentship at all till now. Arjuna was not accepting. After one full chapter of crying, second chapter, he finally says, when Krishna scolds him a bit, then he understands and he says, I don't know what to do, but you teach me. I'm your student. And there the lessons begin of Bhagavad Gita. Look at the classroom is the battlefield. One student, one teacher, total design thinking, contextual learning, allows the student to say whatever he wants to say first, patient listener Krishna is, and then he starts and teaches him the greatest truths of life, uses the opportunity. First 6 chapters, after first 5 chapters go most about karma yoga, because there is an action to be undertaken, you can't escape. But how should we act in this world? What should be our attitude? What should be our understanding? 5 chapters go only in explaining that in different ways, and you all know that. Most famous shloka is karmanyavadikaraste. Do your right is only to the action, not on the results. Leave the results to me. And how should you do? Yad juhoshi, yad karoshi, yadashnasi, dadasi, whatever you do it for my sake. Don't do it for your sake. Don't do it for name, fame, success, failure. Just do it for my sake, he says, Krishna says. Do it for my sake. Offer it to me. Brahma arpanam brahmahavi. Everything is me. Think like that and offer it to me and you will be free. Sukha dukkha samay kritva. Labha, alabha, jaya, ajayau. Tato yuddhaya yujyasva. After keeping happiness, sorrow, success, failure, gain and loss, everything is equal in your mind. Now you are ready to fight the battle. Till that equanimity has come, you are not even eligible to undertake action in the world, Krishna is telling. How deep? If you don't have the ability to accept the outcome of your actions with equanimity, without attachment, you are not even ready to perform any action in this world. If you don't know how to swim, you shouldn't enter the water. That's what Krishna is telling to Arjuna. How beautifully expressed. But how do? I don't have all the abilities. I don't have this ability to be detached. Then he teaches Bhakti Yoga. So do it for my sake. As an offering to me. So that you are free from the outcome and its consequences. You just do it as a worship to me. And leave the results to me. Whatever I give, happily accept it as prasadam. Look at the depth of the idea of action itself, which we cannot escape action in this world. Can we? Every day we have to act. Even eating is an act. Ashtavakra says even opening eyes and closing eyes is also an action, which has consequences. But Krishna tells the only way to escape the consequences is just do it for my. Tat kurushva madarpan, do it for me. Develop bhakti for me. Be happy, santushta, satatam yogi. Be happy in whatever comes. Be contented. Don't have expectations, demands from me. Just do for my sake out of love, without any expectations. Whatever is the result, accept it without any ideas of your own. So simple, but so difficult to follow. And then finally he takes that who is the doer, what is done, what is action, what is consequence. He takes it to the last part of Bhagavad Gita into Jnana Yoga and teaches the highest of the truths. All aspects, all yogas are covered in Bhagavad Gita. Be it Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga or Raja Yoga. As Raja Yoga is all those various Patanjali Yoga Sutras and other things. There also Krishna teaches how to sit, what kind of mat you should have to meditate, how you should breathe. All that also Krishna teaches. It's one compendium, one comprehensive textbook of all our spiritual philosophies, Bhagavad Gita. It's so beautiful. That is why I was very particular that I make it a point that students, staff, devotees, everybody makes an effort to learn Bhagavad Gita. And whatever little you learn also is fine. It is so good that it will help you. In fact, one man goes to a Guruji and says, tell me what should I read? He said, read Mahabharata. He said, Mahabharata is too big just. Then he said, okay, if you can't read Mahabharata, read Bhagavad Gita. Only 700 shlokas. He says, that also I cannot read, too much for me. Okay, read one chapter, read 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. He says, that also is too much for me. He says, okay, read one shloka of Bhagavad Gita. He said, that is also too much for me. He said, okay, in that shloka, just pick up one word, 2 words of Bhagavad Gita. Ananyas chintayanto ma yajana paripasate. Take one word, yogakshemam vahamyam. I will look after you, Krishna says. Or take one word, ma shucha, don't worry, I am there with you. Just that one word, one thought can give you so much of confidence to do things in life. Bhagavad Gita is so powerful. That is why I say, and the essence of Bhagavad Gita, I always say, take the first word from the first shloka, dharma kshetre, kurukshetre, and go to the last shloka and take the last word which he just chanted. Dhruva nitir matir ma. Mama and dharma put together, mama dharma, my duty. Gita is only about discharging your duty in this world. How do we discharge it? With detachment, with complete involvement, with perfection in action, yoga karmasu kaushalam, yet completely detached. Completely detached. Without any desire for anything, not even the desire that this action should succeed. I am just entitled to do my duty. What comes out of it is towards grace. Good, bad, ugly, it does not matter. I don't blame myself, I don't praise myself for that. I just leave it at his feet. Do your best, leave the rest. This is what Bhagavad Gita's essence is at the end. So, it's a very practical text, and we must all make efforts to learn this text. It's a most wonderful text, and I don't think anywhere, any time in the world, a text has been so powerful, clear, and practical as Bhagavad Gita. It's our singular privilege to have been born in Bharata, the very land where Bhagavad Gita was taught and learnt by none other than God himself, and such a eligible disciple like Arjuna. At the end, I can only tell you that you can read, and I can only follow Krishna's path, who says finally, Yathechasi tatha kuru. He teaches whole Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna and says, now I leave it to you, you decide what you want to do about it. I am not going to force you. You read if you want, you study if you want, you learn and practice if you want. But Arjuna is such a good disciple, he says, no karishye vachanam tava. I will do as you say. Don't leave the choice to me. I will do whatever you say. Let me be your servant. That is the essence of the Guru Shishya in Bhagavad Gita. So please read. Teachers should encourage them whenever they find time, children want to learn Bhagavad Gita, shlokas, let them memorize it. No? As Indian parents, we should be proud to say, my child knows the entire Bhagavad Gita. We are proud to say, my child cracked that exam. He cracked that exam. He went off to US and he knows so much about so many things. But as Indian parents, we should first matter of pride for us should be, my child knows the entire 700 shlokas of Bhagavad Gita. That should be our pride. So I expect all teachers, campus chairpersons and parents to encourage their children, and they themselves should put an effort to learn, to start learning Bhagavad Gita. And now it's already started in our 6th class onwards it started. But before you reach your 10th class, you should have remembered all the shlokas of Bhagavad Gita. And that would be a good achievement during your school time. And this will help you all throughout your life. Remember, everything else may not come to your rescue. Your science you may leave once you take arts or humanities in the future. Your arts or humanities will be left out if you take science in the future. But Bhagavad Gita will remain with you, whether you are a science student, art student, or you are no student later. Everything, in every place, in every situation, Bhagavad Gita will come to your rescue. So do pay attention to these words and do make an effort to learn Bhagavad Gita gradually, slowly. I would request the bhajan group to take every day, starting today till the next Gita Jayanthi, whenever the opportunity arises, 2 shlokas per day. Shloka, it's meaning and chanting, and then next day, next shloka, it's meaning, and every day 2 shlokas you take. So that way there are 700 shlokas, you need 1 year to complete it. So before next Gita Jayanthi, more or less, everybody would have learned the entire Bhagavad Gita to some extent.